Well, first of all, thank everyone for joining us for See You at Noon. It's a real treat. Gives us something to do. These guys are particularly interesting. So the disclaimer has to go out. These are our own opinions, thoughts, comments. We do not represent anyone else in these. So whatever's said by them or myself, do not hold me accountable.
That's a good disclaimer.
Thank you. I've been doing it every time, but this time I really...
Yeah, I think it's probably the most important one.
Yes. But remember, this is recorded. So, okay, so Brett Grigsby...
Hope you can edit.
Yeah, we do have some... Oh, the people editing these videos kill it, too. Eric George and Lauren Willoughby. Awesome. So, Brett, the bearded one, Brett works for Denton Floyd, which came from LDG, which is... Who was it? What's their name again? I'm blanking.
Mark Blackner, Chris Dillinger.
So they all come, and they were in the club. They do a lot of development now. So Brett and his business partner Eric, they are killing it. They're moving really quickly. Scaling from one thing to the next thing, and then they originally had $30,000 in each. They just paid themselves back, so now they're playing with house money and other people's money. Brad Brew, kind of savage. Like I said, Katie No calls him the Wolf of Wall Street. Brad does some pretty crazy stuff. He's done a great job of inserting himself into the industry where he's getting first dibs on a lot of deals. You can ask him how he did that. I guess I can ask how he did that. But they're doing a lot of crazy stuff that you're not really going to see other people doing, and they're thinking outside the box, and they're getting some crazy returns on it. I mean, like some really cool stuff. So, anything else you want to say about yourself, Brett?
I think you hit it all. I mean, we'll get into some of the stuff.
What about you, Brad? Anything else you want me to mention about you?
No, I think that's it. Obviously, I want to promote one of our new companies, that Turnkey Title and Escrow, which we'll talk about, which opened up 2 or 3 weeks ago. We've created some special wholesale models inside of there, I think, for certain folks, and also I think for some of the hard money guys. So we can chat a little bit about that later, but some folks may be offline. But yeah, that's about all I've got right now.
Well, perfect. Well, we'll start with my questions, and then we'll go to the group chat for questions. So if you guys have anything, start populating them. These guys are really interesting. So now's a great time to ask them. You'll see why they're so interesting in a second. So we'll start with you, Brett. How did you get started in all of this? And you better answer right, because I know the answer.
So I'll go back. I mean, my dad was an engineer growing up, so I always thought I'd be an engineer. And then I met my business partner now when we were 14 and started hanging out with him. His dad's a financial advisor. And I learned real quickly that I like that lifestyle a lot better than the one that I grew up with. So I decided right out of high school, I was going to go to college for finance, and I was going to either go into banking, go into insurance, or go into real estate. I did it. I sold insurance through college. It was very boring. After college, I went to banking with Chase, and that was pretty boring too. So I left that and went into real estate, into property management, and have pretty much loved that ever since, and been doing that for about 8 years now.
Yeah, you have. Brad, what do you tell us your background in retort to his answer?
Yeah, so
I know
I'm
he does
actually
insurance, but
I'm actually a full-time insurance agent right now. I do work at Clarkson. I run the life division down there. I'm obviously not there very often. Hope no one from there is on here. But I do insurance full-time. My first property was in 2010. I bought a condo at La Fontenay Court, which really was a shitty buy, but I've got that still today. Now we have 500 doors. We own a management company, 17 LLCs, and we've done a pretty good job, I think, kind of putting it together. So, yep, I'm still in insurance, but real estate's becoming a full-time gig,
which is way more fun too.
It's a lot more fun.
Okay, what is your proudest investment you've made so far, Brett? Maybe your most, if you need to, you can do your most profitable. Either or works.
Favorite one is the one that you just sold 2 weeks ago. That was a fourplex that we got for $80,000. It had 3 residents in it. We cleared out like 2, redid a few units, did a little bit of CapEx there. Probably put maybe 25,000 into it, and re-rented the units, got them all leased up, everybody paying well, and sold it for 164.5. So we made, net probably about 60 grand off of it, in about 14 months.
Yeah, and you still own one of the units, the other quad.
Yeah.
So you've made more money than you have into the deal for the other one. Basically free and clear, if you will. What about you, Brad? What is your most interesting, best purchase?
I've got a couple. I had a single family home a year ago. I got under contract at 10 a.m. for 80, and I sold it for 130 at 11, which was pretty cool. That was a fast one. But, I'd say some of my big multis, we specialize, I think, in distressed multifamilies over 10 units. And so, I think the best job I've done there is some of my creative financing, where I've been able to maybe get some of them 100% financed. I've got one right now that we were able to pick up for 540 and put in 400, and it recently appraised at 1.5. And I don't have a dime in the property right now, which is a pretty good number when we're bringing in $17,000 a month in rent, all Section 8 guaranteed money. We're call it guaranteed, quote unquote, money, right? So having the subsidized funds kind of helps. So I think most of my really impressive ones have been distressed multis that I've been able to take a team in and clean up, and by financing it the right way, basically having no money in the deals.
Yeah, playing with other people's money is really important. Do you partner up with a president, VP of a bank too? Didn't that help?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say that one of the best things that I have done is been asking questions and building relationships in that finance world. Between managing money for 2 separate banks, managing their defined benefit plans and other stuff like that, I've built some relationships, also some friends and some other folks. I have really found that when these bankers are able to do you a favor, it's incredible the relationship you can build with these guys. And I'm not saying you get special treatment, but sometimes getting a little creative on money back at closing or things like that have really benefited us. So so far so good. 10 or 11 bank partners that I would call friends right now have really made it easier.
Yeah, that helps. What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, we've got real good relationships with the one main bank we use right now, but we've got a few other banks that we've used, coming up. That's always important. Knowing where you're going to have the rest of the money to fill the deal, whether it's other partners or the banks. I mean, what the good thing about working with groups that like Brad's saying, I mean, once they know you, it's a lot easier. If you've got something else coming up, it's not like the first time. Each time they already know your finances. They know who you guys are, what you've been able to do. It's a lot quicker, and they'll take care of you.
Well, one thing that you guys are both kind of taking advantage of, which in a good way, not in a bad way, but you guys have started partnering up with nonprofits. Tell us how you're taking advantage of those situations.
Brett, you want me to go?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So, 12 years ago, and we own and control our own nonprofit, the Ruch Foundation, which does hospice. And in the meantime of that, I do sit on a board at CoSair Charities on one of their advisory boards that we give away $300,000 or $400,000 a year to certain charities. And with that, I started building relationships in that world. I do have one which is kind of New Life Direction Ministry and Lydia's House of Hope. And bottom line is we've simply just been able to get creative with getting people in houses. A lot of these folks really don't know what they're doing. They're not educated. They've not come through the right path. And so I've found a way to put some strategies together. And this is the most beneficial I've been so far, is by being able to use grant money and other monies to upfront offset their rent payments on non-refundable deposits. So I was able to, let's just say I've got 10 people coming in that could never afford $750, but the nonprofit has some grant money available or something. It's got to come from somewhere, obviously. But if they're able to put up $1,200, $1,800, or $2,400 non-refundable dollars, that person might be paying $500 a month, which is great. They can afford that. And then at tax time, we ask them to reload that bucket. So if they're able to reload the bucket, they can keep that $500 in rent going. And with it being non-refundable, the risk is fairly low up front for us. And, we're still getting someone in a single family home that would, really never get into one. So that's been pretty creative. You got to have the right partnership and you got to have the right setup. But I believe that if you can get the right nonprofit that gets the right grant money and has a good grant writer, that's kind of been our real benefit there.
Brett, tell people what you're doing with your HOI.
You mean HOR, House of Ruth?
Yes, that one as well.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got a few properties that we work with House of Ruth on, which boils down to it. It's kind of a housing program for people with HIV or AIDS, but they will, a lot of these people are recovering from drug addiction, stuff like that, but they're trying to get on track. They are very interactive with their residents, the caseworkers. They talk with, their residents on a biweekly basis. So they're meeting with them, making sure that they're staying out of trouble. If they need any assistance on anything, we can reach out to them. We can work with them and the resident. They do a really good job at staying front and center with them, making sure if there are any issues that we're included in that. And we do the same with them. So we placed a few of their people at a couple of our multifamilies. I don't do anything as big as Brad does, but, we've got some Section 8s here and there. And then mainly, like I said, the other big partners at House of Ruth. And it works pretty similarly. I mean, they've got their application that they fill out. Their portion's going to be based on, whether, what the size of the unit is, what their family size is, what area of town it is, how big the unit is, whether utilities are included or not included, stuff like that.
So, guys, just to be clear, I'm speaking to them, not you guys. Partnering with nonprofits and reaching out to them is a huge benefit. So, someone like Jimmy Welsh will reach out to a nonprofit, and then the nonprofit will pay the rent for the whole house. But they'll charge the nonprofit per door. But since you only have one entity paying, you're able to collect student housing, where it's guaranteed rent, $500 per door. You get a 5-bedroom house, you're bringing in $2,500 on a house that costs you $130K. So you're getting some crazy returns. I know on Bayford, I don't know if you're part of this, Brad, but bought a motel and they put battered women from the association with Southeast Christian. They put battered women in there, and they stay at this hotel for X amount of time, and that all the rent income comes in from Southeast Christian. So there's ways to partner up. You're not tied to Section 8. There's no major hoops you've got to jump through. It's just there's a lot of value there, and it's thinking outside the box. Brett, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're doing with your trailers?
Okay. So back last fall, my partner and I, we've always liked the old Airstream trailers. We came across one on Facebook Marketplace. It was I think it's an 81, 24-foot Airstream. It was pretty redone. I mean, they didn't rip everything out and redo it, but they left it pretty original, but updated it. So it was nicely done. We got it for, I think we got it, they wanted 15 for it. We got it, ended up getting it for around 12,000. And we put it up. So there's, just like Airbnb, there are sites for your car, there's sites for campers, boats, anything that you have that you want to rent out. There are sites that you can do that. So the main ones for campers and RVs is RV Share or Outdoorsy.com. And RV Share, they, I would say, are more like Airbnb. So they have probably the majority of the marketplace, but they have a lot stricter rules on what you can list. So they won't do anything older than a 1995. So our 1981 Airstream wasn't allowed to go on RV Share. So we put it on Outdoorsy.com, and just think of it as like an Airbnb, but for campers and RVs. First day we
have into that deal.
Well, we bought that one outright. So 12,000 on that. And then we spent about $2,000, furnishing it. So with all the linens, dishes, TV, supplies, everything like that, we filled it out. And then we put it up on Outdoorsy. First week, got it rented for 10 days for $1,200. So
10% return on their money in the first week. And if you wanted to carry a mortgage on that, what would a mortgage be per month?
So after we did that one, we were like, we knew, because we had each had campers before, we knew that you can finance campers and boats. You can finance them for a long time, a lot longer than you can like a car. Cars you can do 5-6 years. Campers and boats, you can do 10, 15, 20-year financing on them. So we went out right after we rented that one out and went and bought almost brand new 28-foot Forest River Surveyor with a double slide, real nice camper. It was normally listed for $24,000. We ended up getting it for $18,500. Financed it. It's $200 a month with the warranty plan on it. We rent it out for, on average, now obviously this is seasonal, but once it starts warming up, an average rental on that's going to be $200 or about $150 a night, and we do a minimum of 2 or 3 days. We can also do a setup and drop off for them if it's within a certain distance, and we'll charge like $100 for that. But if they would just want to come and pick it up, or they can rent it stationary. I've got a space in my backyard where the Forest River set up. It's got water, it's got cable, internet, it's got electric, sewer, discharge, all that stuff right there. So they could literally rent it. I mean, before Derby moved, we had it rented for 3 days for $1,000 just sitting in my backyard.
Yeah, that's what a return on money. Brad, do you have anything like that you're proud of?
Oh man, I don't know. This, I think that Rob, I'd have to say that the thing that I think we pride ourselves on the most outside of buying stuff is when we put something under contract, we've performed. I think that's been our key, is that everything that we've ever put under contract, other than I know one property we didn't. I bet we're 98, 99% actually coming to the table and finishing the deal. So I think that's what we've been trying to do, is just do good deals, consistently good deals.
Buy right.
Buying right, but also making sure that what we tell people is right. So, when it's out, when people talk about you, it's been, I think hopefully positive enough that we're at least going to come to the table and close it.
Yeah, that's good. It's important to get that reputation, especially with all those deals.
Yeah. Can't be squirrel.
Yeah. You heard that metaphor, Brett? The squirrel?
Yep.
No, it's
Brett, tell them the squirrel metaphor.
Okay, so the road to success is paved with the bodies of flattened bodies of indecisive squirrels. Is kind of the.
Do not be indecisive squirrel.
Yes. You get run over every time.
Yes, you're not wrong.
And Rob, I'd say with that being said, full circle to now that we do have this, this title company is, now, you look at, do you want to be the person that everybody sends all their business to? And I hate saying it the wrong way, but no, not always. I don't want to be running title on deals that are never going to close.
Yep.
Your pull through rate's got to be good. And if depending on who they come from, if you're cherry picking 5, 10, 20 wholesalers that are just doing great business and close 85, 90% of deals, it's fine. It's the ones that put stuff under contract all the time and never finish it that makes it pretty tough to keep up. And I think that's where we've seen some other companies having a tough time keeping up with certain things because the volume's just too high.
Would you guys say that right now you guys are you buying in this market? Are you holding? What are you guys doing right now?
I've got 79 doors coming on in the next 18 days. So I would say, we've been buying. I'd say right now we're going to get these stabilized and see where things are going. That's what I'd say right this second.
Yeah, we have 11 under contract right now. 2 single families that should close next week, like I said. And then from that sale, we've got some 1031 money that we're putting towards a 9-unit that should close before the end of this month. But yeah, after that, we're probably I mean, we've got Rob. We've got 2 other flips going on, so hopefully, the market will clear up when we're trying to sell those. But one, the big one's not going to be done until towards the end of summer. So hopefully, we got some more idea of what's going on at that point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Rob, the good news is that there's no doubt there's such an inverse relationship with bonds and interest rates, and with the way the bond market's set up right now, these rates have to stay low for a while. So I'm hopeful that we get out of this and people get back to buying. But you never know. But at the end of the day, I mean, these numbers are crazy. I mean, I've got people throwing 2.99 fixed for 5 and 7 over 20 to us. I mean, I've got locking stuff in at 3.75, 4.25. We just did one this morning that's going to lock in at 4 for 10 years on a 15 AM. And the numbers are just insane. And they're making you want to keep the property and not sell them because your returns are too high.
Yeah.
So that makes me nervous about the market a little bit just moving forward, because you have all these people right now that are refinancing at these crazy low interest rates. It's going to be hard once interest rates crawl up back to like 4 to 5%. People are going to just not want to move because they're not going to be able to justify, man, do I want to pay an extra 1.5% interest?
Yeah, and I think, I just saw one of the questions pop up there. I think as of the deals that I had in the pipeline are going to close. And I think some of these banks are just setting their First Financial and Republic and Park. Some of them are just trying to stabilize the calls they're getting, as well as they're trying to figure out who these SBA folks are going to be, right? If I've got 17 companies and 6 of them have payroll, right? And I've got rents, everybody's going to apply for some, I don't want to call it free disaster money, but people are going to apply for that money, right? And these banks are going to be the ones handling it. So the banks are going to be getting overwhelmed with deferrals, interest onlys, SBA loans. I don't know how excited they're going to be about me taking them a 50 house package, right? But I think I found a lot of these banks, if you guys have loans out there, these internal modifications, I've told every one of them, modify it for me now and get it on. And a lot of the guys have been cool. I mean, some of the guys at Liberty were great. I mean, my Park community's always been good. They always work with me no matter what. And even Republic, some of these folks have really come to the table and offered from deferrals to rate adjustments and locked me in. And that's been super, super helpful when, we have $80,000 a month in mortgages, cutting that down to 20 or 30 for a 60, 90, 120 day period. That's a big deal for us.
Well, Republic is all of their commercial deals. Like, they're not doing any commercial deals at all.
Yep. Yeah, unless it was in the pipeline, I think some of these guys are just waiting. But like I said, I think they're going to get so overwhelmed with the fixing and the SBA side, or trying to get approved to be an SBA, right? Some of them don't even have that yet. So I think that's where they're spending a lot of their time right now. I've had a couple guys tell me, just can you please wait? Let's get this done, and can you wait,
Yep.
So that's what I'm seeing right this second. I don't know who else is going to be loaning quickly, but, I do think there's some, I know primary mortgages and stuff, I'm still feeding stuff to Park, and they're still doing it, so.
Yeah, I was on a call today with a lender, and he was talking about how they're raising PMI, like the cost of mortgage.
They are doing that.
Yeah, so something to be concerned about. I mean, there's a lot of movement going on. Ultimately, I think the movers are going to be in good shape, and then it's going to weed out. Like today was April 1st, realtor dues were due March 31st. So we've reached out to GLAR. We won't have the answer for a while, but on how many agents we lost just overnight last night, which is interesting. Oh yeah, and then another thing is a lot of the banks are taking drive-by, which is really, really interesting.
Well, and that can be really beneficial, and also can absolutely smoke you, right? I've got one right now I looked at that, should have been at 72 and came back at 61 or something, because to me it was a 3-1, but he thinks it's a 2-1, right? So, if they're not getting inside and seeing that I've done an extra 5 or 10 grand in work, or, if it's outside work, it's fine. But, if they're not going inside and seeing my floors or seeing my stainless steel or seeing something, I'm not getting the credit for it either. So that's a good and bad. If you don't want them to see it, it's normally pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Or you're refinancing like a bird. You might be able to pull some extra money out that you normally wouldn't be able to.
And the comps are still out there high enough, I think, which is helping. But I think here soon, that could change depending on what happens in the market. So pretty good time right now to be refined.
They're raising rates because we're getting so inundated with refis. And that was 2 weeks ago. I mean, now, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So what's your end game? You guys are both killing it. You're bringing in a regular amount of money. Brad, I'm guessing are you still not spending anything that you're making?
Yeah, so for for the first time ever, we took a $1,500 distribution off one of the companies. But for 10 years now, 8 years, 7 years, 5 years, and probably 3 or 2 of these companies, we've just left every dime in, right? And so we're kind of getting to the point now where the end game is to stabilize completely in an entity, let's say 30, 40, 50, 60 houses in the company. And the partners are all agreeing, hey, let's get stabilized. Let's get 90, 95% occupancy, and let's freeze buying. Let's shelf that company, let it run for a year, and then let's start taking income, right? So, we've got one we're doing this with as we speak. We got another one that's on full acquisition mode, right? One that's like, hey, well, I want 55 houses now. Once that gets stabilized, that might freeze and spit off. So every one of them is in a different spot. I think I'll tell you, this is, I'm controlled chaos, Rob. You know that, for a long time I ran off of like Excel and stuff. Now we've got Yardy Breeze and Buildium, and we're doing some extra work with CPAs to kind of figure out what properties we have that I don't want to say suck. We just have too much money into them. We're not getting the right return, right? So
I would hate to be your CPA. Holy heck.
No, yeah, he hates me. But I think that if I'm able to get these stabilized, my end game is really to start taking mailbox money cash flow, or if a PE firm or someone comes in and takes a big package off us, take a 1031 and go buy one major deal, right? Per company. That's kind of our model. I don't, we've done a good job partnering. That's been my key, is partnering with 16 or 17 kind of different, let's call it ownership structures, right? Some of them have the same owners, but, I might own 10% of one and be up to 50% in another, so every company is going to be a little different with how we're moving forward and how we're designing stuff. But for the most part, everybody's end goal is just to, get tax advantages off it and to eventually buy something bigger and bigger, or just to get mailbox money. That's kind of what we're doing.
Scaling. What about you, Brett?
Same thing. I mean, we'll be just shy of 50 units after we close these this month. We started, 18 months ago. So
that's awesome.
I want to get us up, just like what Brad said. I mean, I'm not trying to be single family, have a bunch of houses that I'm running back and forth to. I'd rather, someday find, just like what Brad's doing, bigger multifamilies, distressed, reposition them, get them back stabilized, and, refi out with some long-term debt, let them cash flow, hold on to them, sell them when the time's right. But yeah, get some mailbox money. I'll never stop working. I love doing flips and stuff like that. I love, running crews and trying to find deals and, work the numbers and things like that. But, I don't want to sit in an office all day. I like being out, going to see the properties, talking with people. But yeah, basically just trying to, get the financial freedom that real estate affords a lot of people, and not have to rely on anybody else besides, me and my partner, Eric. We've got some other investors on some deals, but it's, we're over half on everything that we own. But that's not to say that we would never take somebody else on if there was something bigger that we couldn't bite off ourselves. But, we haven't tried to go too fast where we're having to get into anything like that. We like to keep the majority of it so that we keep control. And any of the other investors that we have in anything, I tell them up front, unless they're bringing something else to the table besides money, this is our show. I'm glad to listen to input, but I've run 400 unit complexes, and I can go into one that's been managed totally poorly and turn it all around. I know what they need to do. I know what needs to go into it. I know the staff that you need, what implementations you need to do as far as systems, advertising, everything like that. I can go in and do that on any size property. I don't think there's one that I would be afraid of. So, a lot of the investors a few of the investors that we have, they're just money guys. They're not really real estate guys. So, I'm not necessarily looking at them for the input or control over a project or anything like that. But
question for you now, if you both have multiple business partners, what kind of upfront things are you doing to build in like a smooth exit strategy? I mean, how are you guys protecting yourself in that?
Go ahead, you can go.
Yeah, I would say on ours, it just depends on, like, most of ours, if we've got something else, it's a different LLC that we've set up, and our main LLC will hold mine and Eric's portion, and then the other partner in there is going to have a portion of that LLC. It's just, I mean, we'll have the, organization charts and everything like that for it, but.
Can someone reach out to you if they ever want any of that information from you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting it together. We've got lawyers, so we'll tell him what we need to do, that we need the LLC set up, and he'll set it up. So I can point you in a direction, but I'm not the one typing those up or anything.
What about you, Brad?
Rob, we have a process really. Once we, I hate losing deals. So if I see something that I know I can't afford, or something's off the table, I just can't put together. I try to put together as fast as I can, either investors or people bringing something to the table, whether it's a realtor or a wholesaler or somebody that wants to dive in the deal. I mean, even other title guys. I mean, I've got deals that are going with other people. I don't care what you do, as long as there's someone bringing value. We then normally go straight to our attorney. The attorney does everything for us, from the company vitals to all the tax stuff to everything top to bottom. They also do an operating agreement. We all agree on that, put the capital contributions in, normally hold bank accounts at one bank and kind of an operating account. And then, it kind of rolls from there. We'll do promissory notes out of that company off of e-forms or off an attorney doing it, or whatever it takes to get it done. But that's kind of, that's kind of it. I mean, I think in that operating agreement, it describes the exit strategies and everything. We have resolutions, so certain people can sign in certain aspects when we're buying and selling. But I hate saying, I know it's kind of something that's overlooked, but it's not rocket science. If you set up the right way on the front side, it's not going to be too bad on the back side. And as long as everybody's on the same page, as long as there's the checks and balances. I don't have $1 million sitting in a bank account where one person can sign on it. But the accounts that have 20 grand, we do. So it just is what it is. Being smart, I think, about all that, and making sure you have the right partners. I saw one of the questions pop up, and I probably have 9 different partners that are spread across, let's call it 17 companies, but I might have 3 guys in one and only 2 of those guys in another, and maybe 1 in one. And, my mom and I have one, just stuff like that. So
AZ Holdings.
Yeah, we also have fun with the names, right? We have Cartel and Daisy and Ralphie and, Goofy Sherlock, or, just funny things that are out there that are funny.
Hey, what you name your multifamily in Frankfurt Avenue?
The Benson, that one, the one after my little boy. Yeah, I've got that one. We created a company, which I don't know who's on here, but LMHA, we went ahead and just did LMHA LLC. So when the city drives by, they think they actually own it, which is kind of funny. So that was interesting.
Brett just started one called BDE, which is kind of a hoot. It's their initials, but I think you can sound that out. Okay, so how much do you guys value networking and communicating with other people in the investor world?
Rob, I'll say this to you, man. I've stayed, and this is one of the first calls or things I'll do, and probably I don't do this often, mostly because I just keep to myself as to what I'm doing, or my guys. I've got kind of a core 20 or 30, let's say buyers / friends / partners. Sometimes we trade properties internally. I have my certain brokers I work with. And of course I own a management company that has a broker behind it as well. I also use a management company that is a broker, right? So I think it's important for me, but I've stayed really, really behind the scenes on social media stuff. I don't go to KREIA stuff. I just don't do it. I kind of do my own thing that way. And I utilize people, with all due respect, like you, right? To ask questions. I ask people a lot of questions, and I don't really go to the meetings. I kind of find out what's going on, and that's how I do it. I've just never been really, I'm not great on the computer, so I don't do the social media stuff at all. And the networking stuff is good, but I've gone to a couple meetups, but I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't do luncheons. I don't do that. To me, it's a time vampire. My time's worth a bunch right now with all the stuff going on, and with all due respect, I mean, to everybody, I think, sometimes not only a waste, but, at home, the amount of time I'm spending on the phone, if it's showing me 10 or 11 hours of screen time, it's going to start affecting personal stuff too, right? So if you're not careful, I'm sure a lot of you guys on here know that deal, that it starts to take over a little bit. And, you know, when you start having a wife and kids and other shit and other family, it's gonna get you at some point if you're not careful. You can tell the guys now that are putting their phones away after 6 or 7 and picking them back up the next day, because if they don't have that separation, it's getting to be a lot. When you're hustling like this, it's fun, but man, it catches you.
Yeah, what's the point of it after all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
Yeah,
Ben?
I mean, I think that it's definitely important, like when you're starting out, to know, you know, people in the industry that you're looking to do. Rob, like I said, I mean, we had a few deals before you and I met, but you know, once after you and I met, I mean, I think some of the people that you've introduced me to, some of the people that I've met through you, things like that have definitely helped our business kind of grow and kind of get put in front of more deals that we've ended up buying. I think, you know, I saw Frank's earlier. He wanted me to tell about the Lake Forest house, but that's where we met, was from you putting that out there. And we ended up making that one happen, made some good money off of it. It's a fun project. Probably we're a little bit naive going into it, but you know, we got it done. But like now we're doing a house right now that's almost identical to that Lake Forest house. And I know that, you know, the stuff that we learned from that one and from the people that we met along the way, like this one will be even better, and should turn out even better as long as the market comes back by the time we finish it. But I
think we'll be okay.
I think meeting people and knowing like who's out there, who's doing what in the beginning, and being able to filter through a lot of the noise of, like Brad saying, he's not on social media doing that stuff. Some people are on there, but they might look like they're doing a lot of stuff, but they might not be doing anything.
Yeah.
And being able to tell the difference between that. Like I post some stuff, but I'm rarely, you know, I don't have all my deals and projects that were like, you might see one a month of me posting a picture of going through a flip or going through one of our construction projects, but that's, you know, not even 10% of what all we've got going on right now. So, I mean, I'm running all the time. I've got the regular 9 to 5 that I'm doing, and it's more than 9 to 5. I mean, I'm usually working, you know, 50 hours at least here. And then, I mean, Eric and I, we run all of our stuff. So it's not a full-time job yet, but getting close to 50 units. I mean, we're running everything. We've got 4 flips going. So we've got crews and subs and stuff that we're managing. We don't really put it off on anybody else. Probably one of the biggest things that I've learned to do over the past year is to delegate to other people, because I used to be the person that would just do it all. I can fix pretty much anything in a house, and I've done it before, but I've learned, you know, over the past year that my time's probably worth a lot more than what I can get some other guy to do for, you know, $25, $30 an hour. I can go do a lot more important things. And, you know, it's freed up time for me with my kids, with my fiance now. And, you know, I didn't always have that before or want it, but, you know, trying to find that balance, like he was saying, it's definitely important.
Oh, concur for sure. What mistakes do you see other people making that you'd advise them not to make?
Well, I can tell you, I made one mistake. I tried to get into boarding houses in the West End about 5 years ago, and that was a shit show. You just don't do that. That was the biggest mistake I've made, because you know you're not gonna be able to run it yourself. And I had another guy running it, and some of the people on this call might even know who it was. It was a train wreck. We ended up not losing any money because I had a total loss on one of the buildings due to a flood, which ended up getting me insurance money to get out of the thing. But if I hadn't gotten that, I probably would have gotten smoked. So it looks good that, you know, I think my advice would be, when the numbers look that sexy, it's probably not going to be that good. And I got into it and thought it was that good. And, you know, for a couple months it was, and then it just became the worst thing ever. So I'd say, I would definitely stay away from the boarding house stuff or the thing without doing your research on the city of Louisville for occupancy and certificates of occupancy and anything like that for what you're running it for and zoning. It's really goofy, the stuff you learn about when fire can and can't come in and do their own thing because maybe you've got the wrong occupancy in there, you're using it for the wrong thing. Then you get fined from both sides. You can't fix it. And then you got to turn it back to what it was meant to be used for. The whole thing's a mess. So just pay attention to that because the city, I mean, I know we're in a weird time right now, but the city was really cracking down on that as we got into this COVID thing.
But yeah, that stinks. What about you, Brett? What mistakes would you say?
Mistakes. I mean, I think a lot of people just overanalyze stuff. I mean, I know it's good to analyze it. You need to know your numbers. You need to know the market. You need to know what you're wanting to get into. But I mean, if the numbers make sense for what you're trying to do and you've got the means to do it, I mean, get it done, make it happen. I mean, I probably wasted, I'd say 5 or 6 years ready to do stuff and had the means to do it and didn't do it. So, I could be probably, a couple hundred units by now if I'd have started 5 years prior to when I did. But
yeah, you used to be a squirrel, an indecisive.
Used to be.
Okay, we've got a couple other questions. Wait, is there anything that you guys are staying away from right now? Like just with this COVID stuff going on, anything you're like, I'm just going to wait on it?
Specifically, no. I mean, I've always kind of stayed away from the West End, but and I don't like Shively just because of their tax that they do. But
part of that too, I guess.
Yeah, outside of that, I mean, if it makes sense, I'm still going to look at it.
Yeah. What about you?
The West End is a place we do stay at for the most part. We got into Portland a little bit, doing a few. I'm talking like 5 out of, let's call it 2% of our houses, and that really just no matter what numbers you run to think that you're getting a good deal, they kind of never work out very well down there. You get in for 8, 10, 12, 14. You end up being 20, 24 in these things when you're done rehabbing them maybe, and they just take too long to get your money back. So I stay out of there, and I'll tell you, Southern Indiana, I love the numbers, but I just don't know the area well enough. And my folks over there, like I've got a house right now that I think is a great deal that we're selling. I don't know I just can't get it sold. I don't know enough about it. I just don't ever go over there. So I'm staying out of there right now. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go back, but for now, I'm sticking with our bread and butter stuff, which is really single family homes. I can rent for $750 or $800.
Tell them just real quick about a special lot you bought out there that's going to be very profitable for you.
Which one?
The track and field.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But didn't you own a lot that was part of the plan for the new track and field that they want to put on, and they were having to get that from you?
I've got one. I got one in Portland that they had to do something with us with, but I don't have any track and field ones.
No, I mean it was in where they were going to build the track and field.
Oh, I think that piece you're talking about, Rob, is I think we're Gil and them are doing the Artist Row stuff.
Oh yeah.
Brett and I had something there. I think we had 2 lots that they had to give us something on it. I can tell you right now that the as long as that's going to take, it's.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. All right, so I'm going to go through a few questions real quick, and then we'll close it up. Okay, so 25% of realtors did not re-up. 25% of realtors. So we're at 5,200 agents yesterday, for the record, which is crazy, and that should make the industry a little bit more professional as well. Okay, so Brad, you said you were looking to see what your bad houses are. What is the minimum loan to value you want on each property?
Well, I don't know if loan to value is as much as cash on cash return for some of the stuff we're doing, right? You know, if we're not over a 30% cash on cash net at the end of the day, I've probably failed my team when I'm doing it. You know, when we dive in, if it's not something we can wholesale quickly for 5,000, if we can't flip it and make 15 or 20, you know, I normally will buy and hold it, and we've got to make over 30% cash on cash net, normally running off like an 80-20 type model or a 75-25 style model. You know, obviously with these interest rates being low, I mean, I'm looking better on paper. The biggest problem I have, Rob, is when I go in and buy a package of houses and I get, let's say 7, and I get 2 dogs in there, and those dogs end up being the tenant that I thought would stay, that didn't mind, I hate saying it, didn't mind the shitty, filthy house. They end up moving out, and now I've got a $10,000 bill to get the house back ready. Well, when you put that on a piece of paper in a model, that doesn't look so good. So that's where we have to decide, do we want to keep those houses and just know we're going to break even after 2.5 or 3 years, right? Or do we need to sell them? You know, whether it be, you know, an actual, you know, on market style, you know, sale, or a wholesale sale, or a package with maybe a couple houses that are really good. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. But I think the software we're utilizing is going to help a lot, kind of tell the story, you know?
So that actually leads us to just real quick, just starting out, how long did it take you to get your systems right?
I don't know, 10 years. I'm kidding. You know, I was I was very good on Excel forever. And that was just what I used. I know it sounds funny, but I was just good at that. As I've transitioned over to the Yardi systems and the Buildium systems and even Rent Manager at one point, you know, I'm going to say, I think it also had to do with how big we got, right? I think if I had 25 or 50 still, I can easily run off Excel. I really could have. And QuickBooks and other stuff. I think once you hit that time where people want to pay through Rent Cafe, or they want to pay PayPal, and Venmo came out and all this stuff changed, and they can pay on cards and any kind of government card. I mean, anybody can pay through different portals. I think that's when things really changed for us, was how can we make it as easy as least time consuming for our guys and as easy for the tenant. And that's been in the last couple of years. So I bet it took me 5 years to get it right. That's crazy, but really to probably get it perfect.
But it didn't slow you down. I mean, you kept on buying, you kept on moving forward.
Yeah, we kept growing through the whole thing. You just deal with it.
I mean, you learn more with everything you do on it. Like, I had probably the benefit of, you know, being a property manager, being a leasing manager. I had a personal house that I rented out from the time I graduated college. So I learned.
In the great state of Ohio?
In the great state of Ohio. The heroin capital of
in Middletown, Ohio. There was a 60 Minutes and a Vice article that came out literally the same time how bad the city is. My parents live in the city next door, so we're not immune.
So, I mean, I started renting that out when I was, you know, 23, and, you know, started as a property manager about the next year. Well, leasing manager, moved up to property manager. So I saw these multi-billion-dollar companies, what systems they had in, and then came to Denton Floyd. I've been here for 4 years. I've seen, you know, they started with single-family homes in the west end of Louisville, built up to multi-families. We don't do anything under 100 units now. So I see what systems they had when they started to what we've gone to now. And I've got a lot of contacts in that as well. So even though me and my partner, we've only got like 36 units right now, we've got a website with a portal where people can go online and pay their rent with a card, you know, e-check, ACH, they can do all that on our website. And, you know, I still run, like, even though we're almost to 50 units, I run it on Excel and
QuickBooks?
QuickBooks, yeah. I don't do the QuickBooks side. My partner does the QuickBooks side. So, I mean, I was a finance major in college, so I did, a ton of stuff in Excel, so I can run through, you know, spreadsheets pretty quick, and it's really easy to keep them up to date, even with 50 units. I mean, it takes me maybe 20 minutes of work each month to go through and keep everything straight. So it's just we're not that big yet, but eventually, yeah, we probably will go to, you know, one of those, whether it's a Yardie or a rent manager, one of those sites. But we've got to have kind of the justification and some sort of size to get that. But I've used them all, and I use Yardie on a daily basis where I'm at. I've used Appfolio, I've used One Site, I've used Entrada. I've used all of them, you know, over the course of the past 8 years in the different companies that I've worked for. And I think they all have ups and downs, and some of them are better for, you know, single family and smaller portfolios. Some of them are better for apartment complexes and bigger multis. But, you got to also weigh it with, obviously, Yardie's got probably the most robust system there is, and you can run just about anything you want to through Yardie, but it's also the most expensive. So it doesn't make sense for me right now, where I don't need all that, to pay the cost of that per unit on a system that I'm not going to get the full benefits out of just yet.
Well, guys, we got to wrap up, but I do want to pitch. Well, thank you, first of all, Brett Grigsby and Bradley Rue, if you will, for coming on. Guys, these are young guys that are killing it. Get in their ear. Brad likes beer. Brett likes beer. They like bourbon, too.
I don't like beer. You don't know me.
The next call is Friday with Bob Gurman and Fred Levine. They kill it. They own over 200 units free and clear. Most of them are in the Highlands. They own commercial properties. They were here for 2001, 2008, and they're going to be able to tell us how they weathered the storm, took advantage of it, and built their portfolio. Once again, thank you, guys, and we'll see you Wednesday at noon. Take care. Thanks
Burge. See you guys.
See you, Rob.
See ya.